Oh, I like the dancing and the palm trees. Let's go,
Hi,
Tim.
Tim. Wow, that looks so nice.
You know it's a fake background, Lillian.
I know.
Okay, okay.
It's just imagining.
Um, we're gonna give you guys a couple more minutes to filter in and then we'll start. I've been in back-to-back Zooms for 3 days and my next Zoom is at 12:30. So we're gonna make sure we end on time. But I'm really happy about the new setup like this because if I had to look at that screen on my computer for this 30, like this is a break.
Yeah,
It's on Zoom, but it doesn't feel like
like a
Zoom.
real life conversation.
It's like human beings. Forget that I am one sometimes.
Zoom robot. Beep, boop, beep. Okay, sorry. Oh, Sandy.
Oh, Sandy.
Sandy doing Sandy thing.
This was when I had to bite my tongue and not call you by the nickname you hate. Because that was such a her moment.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Sandy has 15 names. If anybody ever wants to piss her off, ask her what they each are. Each is? Each what?
HR. They are.
Okay, guys, so let's
Say
get
hello.
started because time is of the essence. This is the same market update that we've been doing since the beginning of 2023. We started this because, you know, the market's changing quickly and in real time, and we wanted to keep everyone informed, but from like the point of view of what we actually see happening. Like you've got Tom Ferry, Barry Habib, all these like major real estate names telling you, and then you, as a consumer, you've got the news telling you what's happening, but you want like the unfiltered version. You want the version of like, what do I do with this information? And that's what Property Pursuits is all about. So let's get started.
Okay, so first we're going to jump into some strategies and what we're seeing working in the market right now. The biggest thing really is just to keep your pre-approval updated. And there's a few reasons that this is really important. First, you need to know what price point you want to be shopping in or what you need to be shopping in, because one, we want you to be looking at houses that are realistic and not falling in love with things that are a little bit out of your price range. But two, it's important to keep them updated because interest rates fluctuate and that can have an impact on your buying power.
That's most important right now because
Yeah.
it will change week to week. You always needed to keep a good pre-approval. You always wanted to keep your lender apprised if you got a new car. Everybody doesn't do that, but they really want to.
Especially if you're actively shopping, you need to include us on everything.
And we want to include you. What Sandy's saying is because of the way the market is right now, we want to let you know how much the payment changed from last week.
Yeah, and that's the other big thing that's next is we want you to feel prepared when you submit your offer to what your financing strategy is going to be. And that can include structuring with seller credits, or maybe you need to make the offer more competitive and you're going above list, or you're adding some other way to make your offer competitive. We want you to be psychologically well positioned to make a good choice, a good financial decision when you're out looking at houses and falling in love with them. It's a lot easier to fall in love with the house than it is to make yourself fall in love with the mortgage payment. So,
Ooh, that's a good way to say that.
yeah, so we want you to be comfortable with the numbers part before you go, submitting offers.
Well, and now every house is its own market. Like over the weekend, I had people making an offer. These two houses were on the same price point. And one couple was making an offer on a house where we're asking for a $60,000 credit to cover a 3-2-1 buy down in the luxury price point. The other people are also in the luxury price point and they're offering 100,000 over list price because they're up against 10 other offers. So every house right now is its own market, and having your pre-approval dialed and talking to your loan officer often will help you be nimble in that kind of situation.
Yeah, that's huge. And that leads right into the ninja-like nimbleness. So I have all
I didn't even know that was coming.
it was a perfect segue. So thanks. But yeah, basically, each house is its own thing. So it's important to work closely with your team, work closely with your realtor. They're going to be helping you with pulling comps and structuring the offer, and we're going to be helping you with making those numbers fit. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about briefly is there are other ways to make your offer really competitive, and besides price. Price, yes, is typically like the number one thing, but maybe you offer the seller a rent back or a longer or a shorter escrow, or
Wait, tell them what a rent back is.
so rent back is when you close on the home. So you now take ownership, but you let the seller stay there for a period of time. so that they can move out or get the house cleaned or whatever.
And you could charge for this,
Mhm.
but if you're up against other offers, you could put in your offer that you'll let them stay there for free
Yeah, to make it more competitive.
because you don't have a mortgage payment
Yeah,
for 30 days. So it wouldn't cost you anything.
definitely. You could also cover some closing costs for the seller. You could let them have a contingency. So some sellers are hesitant to sell their home to you because they haven't found a new one yet. So if you, again, want to make your offer really competitive, you could let the seller have that contingency.
I like that.
And then again, to make your offer a lot more competitive is you could remove your contingency. So this is a big thing we've been talking about with people who need to sell their home is we have creative financing strategies to allow you to make your offer non-contingent on the sale of your home. So 2 ways we can do this. Well, 3. There's a bridge loan. So essentially this means that you would take out equity from the home that you have for sale and use that for your down payment on the new one. So you can technically close on the new house, have your down payment ready, and then sell your home after you move, after you close. That's nice, 1, because your contingency is moved, but 2, because it gives you the flexibility to move after you've already closed on your new house.
Flexibility is key in like stressful things like this. If you can sleep at night because you know you have a backup plan to your backup plan, I think that's where you're going with this.
Yes, definitely. And then we have another really cool financing strategy called Home Simple, where we actually can buy your house for you, from you. So if you need to buy your new house and you want to write an offer that's non-contingent, we can buy your house that's listed for sale for you. You'll still continue to list it. You'll still work with your realtor. You'll still have full say over which offer you accept, at what price, and what terms. But we're going to give you upfront 80% of the amount of your sale, and then you can use that for your down payment. And then, we're going to sell it to the buyer that you choose after.
I wish I could see everybody's faces because I feel like they should be like eyes wide open right now because this is a big, yeah, thank you. This is a big deal,
So take your pick. Which one do you want? A, B, or C?
but we will make it so that you don't have to worry about your contingency and we can help you make an offer so the seller wouldn't have to worry about theirs either. And if you could relieve some of that stress for them, you're winning.
It's huge. And then that program is really cool because there's another way we could do it where we could actually buy the house that you're buying and then sell it to you. So there's just so many ways we can do this. And then let's say you get an offer on your home and that offer is contingent. We could buy the buyer's house. So there's just so many creative things we could do with this strategy. And again, that's kind of why we just have to be really nimble in this market, especially because inventory is tight and you don't know when your house is going to come up, but when it does, you need to be ready.
So you're the contingency queen.
Yeah. So, all right, come at me with the contingencies.
But specifically her, because she's the expert on this and Nayeli and I don't want to dive deep on those guidelines.
I want to sleep at night.
So specifically her.
Okay, I guess call me. No, just kidding. No, it's great. I actually have been working on a deal with these strategies, and it's been really interesting digging into it and figuring out how to make it work. And there are a lot of moving pieces, so it's kind of like a puzzle, and I'm very into it.
This is why you have a team so that each person on the team can be an expert on some things
Mhm.
and we can all benefit.
Yeah.
That works great for us.
Yeah.
Thank
The
you.
collaboration that we all bring, because if one has a problem, we have 2 other solutions that the one person didn't think about. So that's the key factor with us is you get 3 for the price of 1.
I do that all the time with these two. I'll be talking about my pre-approval and I just need to say it out loud to them. And they'll be like, no, you should structure it like this because 3 heads putting together way better than 1 person, especially when you've gone too far into the weeds
Yep.
on the qualification. And now you can't see like the easiest path.
Yeah, we all do that, especially when there's so many moving parts. And then you guys will say something I didn't even think of, and then boom, that's what we need to do. So yeah, it's great. Okay, and the next thing we're going to talk about buyer broker agreements. And basically when you're working with a realtor, realtors will do things a little bit differently. So like one example is escalation clauses. Some realtors don't do them because the guidelines have been changing on what's allowed. So that's just something you can talk about talk with your realtor about. What an escalation clause is, it basically just means that if you're submitting an offer, and again, you want it to be really competitive, you can say our offer will be X amount higher than whatever offer you receive. Again, some realtors are doing them, some won't, just because
And
the
this is
rules
where I
are
say
changing.
something that I'm not supposed to say, but work with a realtor who's doing them so that you're playing to win. Because otherwise you could be up against somebody who's not doing them because they think they're not allowed to. But this other brokerage is letting their realtors do them. I'm just saying, like, if I'm the buyer, I want to work with
That's
the
why you have
realtor.
to interview your realtor and ask, what can I do? What can I not do? What strategies are working that we can apply to my situation?
And then the other thing we wanted to talk about again is something that not all realtors are doing. It's called a buyer broker agreement. And they are something to be very aware of as a consumer. Basically, what it is a contract between you and your realtor. So it's good in that the terms are going to be very clear on what the realtor duties are to you and what your duties are to your realtor. But you have to be very aware of them because basically what you're committing to is that your realtor is going to get their commission, even if you don't like working with your realtor and close with a new realtor or something happens. You're basically saying that you will pay their commission if you close on a property during that time period. So really important things to look out for when you're looking at these is one, make sure that you read it very carefully because it is a contract. Two, you want to make sure that you're looking at the duration of the agreement. They can vary. Some might be shorter, some might be longer. So if you are signing a longer one, make sure you really love your realtor. And then essentially some other nuances that I wanted to bring up is it's going to also include the amount of commission. So typically realtor commission is paid as a percent of the purchase price. So your buyer broker agreement, and they're actually drafting a new version of this. It's going to be called a buyer representation agreement.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But so if you say in your buyer broker agreement that your realtor commission will be 2%, but then the listing agent or the listing is only offering 1%, you could be responsible for paying the additional 1%.
Especially with new builds, right? That's what we're seeing this come in.
Yeah, most sellers like selling resale homes are offering a commission, generally somewhere between 2 and 3%. But yeah, new builds are offering sometimes just a flat rate and sometimes zero commission or 1%. So yeah, a lot of the new builds are not very good with that. And one other thing is, while we're on the topic of new builds, always bring your realtor to a new build appointment, because if you go and you don't bring your realtor, they might not be able to advocate for you and work with you on your deal. So,
And it's not just that the builder won't pay them, the builder won't let them be involved. So even if they want to do it out of the goodness of their heart and help you when the builder installs the wrong backsplash in your kitchen, they can't do anything. Their hands are tied. So don't go into that office without your realtor.
yeah, it's very important.
Okay, I have a question for you too, though,
Yeah.
that you're not going to want to answer.
Okay.
Bring it.
So as loan officers, we don't have no buyer broker agreement. We can't make people sign anything. If you were a realtor, would you have your clients sign a buyer representation agreement?
I wouldn't.
Why?
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because I trust that the relationship that I build with my clients is going to get me that client. If they don't want to work with me, they don't want to work with me for a reason. I'm not going to force them to work with me in case something does happen. So for me, I wouldn't put them in my agreements.
I agree. I will caveat that by saying that if we get into with the National Association of Realtor lawsuits going around, it's becoming more and more aware to the public that realtor commissions are negotiable. And if we get into a really competitive seller market again, and sellers are no longer paying commissions, that might be something to think about. If the market changes and it's not as common.
You can reference a previous podcast where we talked about this in detail.
We don't want to rip off the client, but we also can't work for free. So
I think, because, I built my whole real estate business being available 24/7. So I think if I could start over as a realtor who drives like a Tesla and has maybe blonde hair that's really smooth but really big, I think I would have my agreement have nothing to do with the commission I get paid, but when you can call me. You may call me or text me between these hours. Don't sign this if you can't agree to that. I'm just kidding.
we're sending bank statements that are blacked out.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Just all the big downs.
Okay, okay.
That's enough.
Sandy's got 2 pages of notes we need to get through, so
Yeah, I
let's
was
move
like,
on.
all right, ladies, you have a call at 12:30.
Stop bantering.
Okay, so a couple other things to note on this commission agreement. So, a lot of times it's not very clearly understood that what you list on the buyer broker agreement is a minimum. So, if you list that your realtor will get 2% and then the listing is offering 2.5%, they're not capped at a minimum of 2. They will get the full 2.5%. But if you say 2% and they're offering 1.5%, you're now liable for that additional 0.5%. So it's not a maximum, it is a minimum. And then one other note on this is, let's say your buyer broker agreement ends, the duration is up. Your realtor can give you a list of properties that they've shown you during that time period that it was in effect. And if you close on them for the next 90 days, you again are still liable for that commission. So something to keep in mind, even after it's lapsed, is you still may be responsible for that. And then one other thing I forgot.
Make sure you get a copy of that. If you are signing something like that, you need to have a copy so that you know when it's up. Or if you say, hey, it's no longer valid, I did communicate with you on this day, I no longer want to work with you, you protect yourself, because we don't want someone coming after you when this was 2 years ago saying, hey, remember you signed this? And they can make up or alter the documentation, which I doubt anyone would do, but you never know.
It's better safe than sorry. You know who else needs a copy of this agreement? Your loan officer, so they can factor it into your closing costs.
Yeah, exactly. Because this could impact your loan, because it's difficult to get, if the seller is not going to pay the commission, there might be a way that you could ask for a credit to cover it. But again, that has to be within the credit caps allowable for your loan type. And the appraisal has to come in at value. So it's definitely a closing cost that you need to consider when you're looking at your financing. Yeah. Okay. You guys can talk now.
Thank you.
Thank you for permission.
All right, so let's talk about credit, everyone's favorite topic. So I don't know about you guys, but I have been seeing a lot on social media or just people talking to me saying, I don't want you to pull my credit because my credit score is going to drop 60 points. There's a guy that I went to high school with, and he was posting on his Facebook about how he applied for an Apple credit card and his credit score dropped 90 points. And he was just bashing like Apple online, like, how could you? Like, I worked so hard to get my credit score up, yada, yada, yada. That's not actually what happens. We get a lot of pushback because they're like, well, we heard it's bad to get our credit pulled. Our credit's going to get dinged a lot. When we pull credit, we see the full picture. So we absolutely have to pull credit in order to issue you a pre-approval, because we need to make sure we're doing our due diligence and verifying what your debt is, verifying what credit scores you have, because then we're not doing the right thing by making sure that we're coming up with the proper financing strategies and making sure that we can get you to the finish line if we don't do our due diligence. So I always say, I cannot issue you a pre-approval. I can't go off of your free credit monitoring service that you use. I can't use someone else's credit report. If you want to work with me and have me take care of the financing, I have to pull your credit. There's no way around it. We don't pull credit unless it's absolutely necessary. And with you being afraid to get your credit pulled, it drops 3 to 5 points. But the thing is, when you do have a credit monitoring service, what happens a lot of times is they want to make sure that you're engaged, you're buying things that they're offering, and also for fraudulent behavior, they want to be able to capture your attention so that you act fast in case, yeah, someone pulled your credit and that wasn't you, you're alerted and you act on it accordingly. So if someone says, oh, don't have them pull your credit, just get like a what if scenario, you always want to get your credit pulled if you are actually serious about buying and want that actual pre-approval.
Even if you're not buying for a year, because I would like to know a year in advance if I wasn't aware that a collection had popped up and I'm going to need to deal with it or fight it. Or I would like as much lead time as I could if there was something on the credit report that I needed to correct.
Yeah,
So
stuff comes up, and we like to always go over our credit reports with our clients so that they see what we see. Because if there is something on there that's not accurate, you need to know exactly what it is that we saw so that you can take action and get that fixed. Because stuff does come up sometimes, like my dad and my uncle have the same exact name, except my dad's middle name is Francisco. My uncle's middle name is Jesus.
Oh my God.
So when my uncle was in the hospital, he had a bunch of medical collections, and that actually hit my dad's credit report. And my dad was like, "What do you mean I have these collections?" And then we found out they were my uncle's from when he was in the hospital. So
How
stuff
did that go
that's,
between them?
well, we just, he wasn't upset about it. My uncle was in a terrible accident. So he was just like, "I get it. You were out of work," but we got it fixed. But it took 3 months to get fixed. So it does happen with
it's
his
nice to
wife.
have the lead time.
We need to make sure we get that taken care of. And then next, I want to talk about late payments. We're starting to see a lot of late payments on credit reports. I'm seeing a whole lot of 30-day lates on credit cards and student loans, since those
Oh.
are out of that forbearance period. And what people don't know is having like a 30, 60, 90-day late on their credit report is worse than actually getting your credit pulled, because it dings it so much harder. And this is really going to affect your credit for like 2 to 3 years when you do have late payments. And I had a client where she was like, "Yeah, you know what? I couldn't make my payments, so I just like stopped making them." I'm like, "Well, you shouldn't do that. If you are having a really difficult time with paying your debt, you need to call your creditors and try to work something out where maybe you're not paying that full amount due, but you're doing something where you're giving something rather than nothing." It's never good to pay your stuff late. If you do have to pay stuff late, take the late fee, but pay it before that 30-day period is, because if you pay it after the 30 days, that's when it's going to hit your credit report. Or also, if something happened where you did pay on time and somehow they counted it as a late payment, we need to get a letter to get that corrected, because it is going to ding your credit significantly. And then also, what's really nice about us is that we do have an in-house credit repair specialist. So if we do see issues with your credit, we can take care of it in-house, and we don't have to refer you out to someone.
Joe knows his shit and he's
Oh,
fast.
He's great.
He's really good.
Actually, I have a client right now whose credit was under a 580 beginning of the year. And we just repulled credit on Monday, and their credit score is a 642.
Oh,
So for reference, that
So-
was 5 weeks.
That was 5 weeks. We were able to get their credit score up that much. So now they're ready to go, and they're fully pre-approved because we were able to work with our in-house specialist, and Joe gave a really good game plan. We talked about it, the three of us, and the client was like, "Okay, I can do this. I can't do that." "Okay, perfect. Let's tweak the strategy that you're going to use to improve your credit." And so we were able to handle it in-house, versus there's a lot of great repair specialists outside of our company. But what's really nice is that we can control and we see everything. We have direct transparency with that person, because a lot of times you work with someone on the outside and it's like a monthly membership.
or they
where-
have their own motives.
Yeah. And they're like, "Well, we sent the letter, but we haven't heard back." Where with us, we're very hands-on, because credit is just such a pain in the ass to deal with. So we're able to really offer that service. And we've seen it work, like with my client, literally from being under a 580 to a 642 in 5 weeks, because we handle it internally. That's huge. Not many people can say that. So
Yeah,
It's
it's
magic.
amazing. Our
Yeah.
company added that recently, and it's just another great example, like the Home Simple of things that, working with a lender that's a direct lender, we just can get so many unique programs and advantages to offer our clients. So it's really awesome.
yeah, so cool stuff. So reminder, pay your stuff on time, please. And if you're looking to buy, let us pull your credit just so that we can see what's actually going on. It's not because we want to know what debt you have or anything like that. Well, we do, but it's purely because we want to make sure we do our due diligence and we're putting you in the best position possible.
It's a big deal. Okay, so coming out of 2023, we had so much whiplash, right? And going into 2023, really credible sources were warning of a housing crash, and that scared people. And then interest rates doing these wild swings and hitting a peak of 8%, that also scared people. And I think it's part of the reason why we started this, but things got really intimidating in the real estate market. And then you're also being told online by all these influencers constantly conflicting information. And that's even more frustrating for people. So I wanted to talk about how how much fear there is in the real estate market right now, and how, if you are scared, whether you're a realtor, another lender, there's a couple lenders on this call who I noticed when they registered, they didn't put their first and last name in, they put like slashes, but then they don't realize that I see their email address. But anyways, if you're a lender on this call, if you're a realtor on this call, if you're a consumer on this call, making decisions from a fear-based place will work out as well for you in the real estate market as it does anywhere else. Like it will make you stressed out. It will make you not consider all of the options. It'll trap you in a mental cul-de-sac of like just spinning around where you can't see an opportunity when it presents itself. So always, I mean, I used to start every single one of these calls with none of the information we give you, the economic headlines, any of it is for the purpose of trying to time the market. We want you to buy when it's the right time for you, because trying to time the market's like trying to catch a falling knife. You will bleed. But I think it's really important to find a source of information, like tapping into this call once a month, or choosing a really great realtor like Sandy talked about, or having a credit expert on your side who will be your team to keep you advised, but not from a fear-based place. If you're getting your content or your information, or if your lender or your realtor or whoever it is feeding you information to make decisions from a place of fear or scarcity or urgency, just know that's not going to work in your best interest. It is 100% guaranteed to fuck you over. So don't do it. We can move on because we're short on time. We'll get off my high horse. We would love for you guys to keep joining us every month for this, but also you don't have to wait a whole month to get the latest information from us. Follow us on Instagram. You probably have mine, but Sandy's is at Sandy Parkhurst. Nayeli's is at Nayeli_M, and Nayeli is spelled NALLELY_M. You guys, they put out content. We put a lot of work into this, into giving you this kind of realness and this kind of insight into what we're seeing, new loan programs we have, what Powell said last night and what it did to the bond market. We will give it to you in real time on our stories and in our reels. So follow us because it's fun. And then next slide. We have a pointer for you guys.
Okay, awesome. So the pointer is, again, I'm circling back to credit scores. So it's really interesting. There are different algorithms used to calculate credit scores. And that's, again, kind of what Nayeli was talking about with the volatility of some of them. For example, Credit Karma uses the Vantage scoring system, which is a lot more up and down. And they also weight the categories differently. So the main ones that you'll hear of are FICO and Vantage, and they both use slightly different weighting systems for payment history, credit utilization, credit mix, stuff like that. So essentially, like for example, FICO 9, there's FICO 9, FICO 10. So these are each, like, if you think of like a Windows computer update, they tweak it a little bit, and then FICO 10 will come out. So like FICO 9, for example, had less emphasis on unpaid medical bills. So that's kind of, again, why you're seeing such a difference. So I was curious and I went and pulled all of my credit scores. So they range from 762 to 834. So you can see just how wildly the scores can be. My 762 was from a mortgage report. It was also from a year ago when I applied for a mortgage. So again, take that with a grain of salt. It's a little bit outdated. But then, when you look at my Chase score, that was 798. And that was the Vantage, but then
Was this whole thing just to toot your own horn about how good your credit is?
Yes.
Sandy's doing
No,
a.
it's like I'm
Sandy's flexing.
responsible. I have good credit.
Okay,
Slide
wait.
into my DMs.
You tell the success stories now because we're almost out of time. And Sandy, we can
Okay.
cut off Sandy's.
So great job, Sandy. I love that you have excellent credit.
I have one more thing
That's
to
a
say.
huge flex. So
I just wanted to say it varies a lot, but if you're really curious about what your scores are, your online banking system will have basically a score that you can look at, and then you can go straight to the credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. They will also provide credit scores for you to take a look at and tell you what the rankings are. Interestingly, Experian they all have like premium versions, but I just had a client pay the premium version and then cancel it immediately. So they can do this every month, get a new updated score. And it also started a bill negotiation for them with Chase to save them $30 a month. So if you're curious and you want to see where you're at, again, it never hurts to get a hard inquiry with us so you can see where you're at. But again, you can monitor with different things as well. So, okay.
I'm
done.
glad I let you say that.
Thank you.
That
My
was the
credit's
point.
also really good.
That was the
so-
real point, actually, of where she was going.
Really quick to tie things back to real estate and not Sandy's finances. You definitely want to be submitting a backup offer because you never know what could happen. I had a client who really liked a house, but it was under contract with an all cash offer. Well, they submitted a backup offer just in case, and that cash offer actually went away because they decided not to proceed with the property, and our client ended up getting in contract. So it doesn't hurt to submit a backup offer because you never know. You could be next. So definitely talk to your realtors about that.
I just had this. My clients lost to the house. There was a house on Dant. If you're here in Reno, you'll know what I'm talking about. They lost to a cash offer. The cash offer pulled out 4 days later and we're in play. So that's a great success story. Super secret, just for inside people. We're not launching this to the public for another week, but Futures Female, save the date and you can actually get your tickets now if you want to be there. It's going to be on March 7th. We have some big hitters flying in from San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, Arizona. And then we also have 2 boss babes from here locally. If you know me well, you know that I'm really into, the psychology of money. Ellie Holbrook is a local therapist and she's also an entrepreneur and she's also a commercial real estate investor. So that'll be super cool. And Feather Dugan, she's going to join us too. And she's going to talk about how she personally survived the housing crash as an investor. So I'm really interested to hear about that. All of these ladies have amazing insights and all of the money is going to benefit a good cause, the Women and Children's Center. So if you want to be ahead of the curve and get your ticket early, you can. Just let us know. And then if any of this information, you wanted a more personalized version of it, you needed insight, like personalized to you. You want to just not raise your hand in front of a bunch of people or be on a recording that's going to go on YouTube forever and ask us advice. We want to give you that advice. We want to chat with you one-on-one. If you're planning to buy this year, if you're planning to buy in 2026, we want to be a resource for you. So you can use that QR code to schedule a thing. And then now that we're already late, why not just lean into it heavier? I got one more success story that Nayeli just did on an appraisal.
Oh, yeah.
And we cannot leave without telling you what happened. So there was an appraiser who should not be an appraiser
He's on my shit list.
and undervalued this thing. How much?
So the property was for sale for $575 and the appraisal came in at $430 and it was a triplex.
Okay. So, and he was like adamant. Nayeli spent a whole day putting together an appeal for her borrowers and did the appraiser's job for him. And he dug his heels in deeper on his value. And she's still like, even I'm doubting her at this point. I'm like, okay, like maybe, this property's not priced appropriately. She's like, no, this guy's wrong. Did another 2 days of work, put together her own appraisal, proved it to everybody. And the AMC agreed and reassigned it to a new appraiser. And where did the value come in?
$557.
So I don't know what my takeaway on that is, except for that Nayeli's a badass. And thank you guys all for being here today. We'll see you next time.